What's up, Gorb Squad? Famox here from Game On Your Face. I had a great week off and edited a buttload of vids for you guys, starting with this highly requested review, Hull vs. Hull, Father vs. Son. But before we begin, I want to thank Owen for becoming the newest $1 patron. We are now just $17 away from the All-Star Game Bergeron giveaway. But let's get on to this review with Bobby vs. Brett.
This video was brought to you by Huthead.com, your #1 source for all things Hut.
Here's the rules. I will play both players for 7 games on 100 chemistry lines. They will not be assigned any boosts or captaincy cards. The overall grade is based on 5 stats: puck skills, skating, shooting, physical, and defensive. Brett Hull's current average price is $200K, putting him in the same price range as Tarasenko and Datsuk. Puck skills, he gets a 9.5. I was really impressed with Brett's hands. He felt a lot like Matt Duchene when it came to deking and passing. His stick movement was quick and he had great control when making loose puck dekes. He had no problem feeding it between his legs or pulling off a quick spinorama. He was also a skilled passer. He connected on a lot of passes through traffic. However, he wasn't as good as guys like Bergeron or even McKinnon. Skating, he gets a 7. Brett's skating ability was average. I wouldn't classify him as fast, but I wouldn't say slow either. He's right there in the middle. He can keep up if you put him on a speedy line, but he's not going to stand out. However, he did have good agility, so his turns and stops felt really smooth, which played a big part in his deking ability. Shooting, he gets an 8.5. Brett Hull has an outstanding slap shot, rivaling guys like Tarasenko and Ovechkin. It might not be as powerful, but is it ever accurate? If he didn't score with his dangles, he could just as easily bury it with a straight up shot. Unfortunately, his wrist shot wasn't quite there. The power was a little weaker than the sniper standard, and so was his accuracy. So I wouldn't say he shoots like the 97 on his card, maybe like a 92 or 91. Physical, he gets a 6. Brett really didn't bring much to the ice when it came to physicality. He had poor balance and was easily knocked off the puck, and when you missed time to deke, he would be at high risk of getting trampled. He even got injured once on a huge hit. On top of that, his ability to throw the body was non-existent and players could just power through him. Defensive, he gets a 7.5. Brett has an okay poke check. He would connect 75% of the time, but the 25% that he missed would end up as a tripping call. However, his interception skills were top notch. There were many times that he stopped the other team's breakout and then created a scoring chance. I'll also add that he got some high sticking penalties, but that's mostly due to me getting used to the new tuner. Total points. In 7 games, he got 5 goals and 4 assists for a total of 9 points. His overall grade comes to 7.7 out of 10 or 77%. I was pretty impressed with Brett Hull's play, mostly by his puck skills. He can dangle and pass on an elite level, not as good as Kane or even Datsuk, but pretty damn close. If his dekes don't work, his slap shot can be just as effective at getting the puck to the back of the net. His main flaw is that he's weak on his skates and is easily knocked over, but that's pretty common for a sniper or playmaker build. But before you drop 200K, let's see how he compares to his own father, Bobby Hull. His current average price is $250K, putting him in the same price range as Jamie Benn. Puck skills, he gets an 8.5. Bobby's hands were very close to Brett's. His deking wasn't quite as good and he would lose control on some of them, but for the most part, he would be fine. His stick movement was fast and he could pull off most moves at full speed. And I would say that his passing was on the same level as his son. He connected on a lot of passes that I didn't even expect him to. Skating, he gets another 8.5. Bobby is a much faster skater than Brett. His acceleration is right there with Patty Kane. He can take off in an instant and maintain his speed without getting fatigued for quite a while. Even though his top speed is just slightly above average, he created a lot of goals with his acceleration and endurance. He's also very agile. I felt no resistance when making quick turns, stops, or spins. Shooting, he gets an 8. Just like puck skills, Bobby's shot was close to Brett's, but not quite as good. Shot power was about the same, he just wasn't as consistent with his accuracy. When he was on his game, he could bury pucks like nobody's business, but every 2 or 3 games, he would have periods where he just couldn't hit the net. It may seem like a minor complaint, but it cost me a good amount of goals. Physical, he gets an 8. This is where Bobby really separates himself from Brett. His physicality is on a whole other level. It's nothing like All-Star Game Scott, but I compare him pretty closely to Jamie Benn. He withstood a lot of hits that I didn't think he would. He shrugged them off like nothing. And when he did get knocked down, he was able to recover very quickly. As for hitting, he couldn't just step into someone and pace them, but if he had enough momentum, he could throw some players off their feet. Defensive, he gets a 7.5. This is the only area that I found Bobby and Brett were even. Bobby's poke checks were a little more effective, but his interceptions weren't as good. Even when he's in the right position, the puck would bounce off his stick or he would just miss. That being said, unlike Brett, he didn't get any penalties in his 7 games. So while their defensive abilities are different, I think they even out. Total points. In 7 games, he got 3 goals and 4 assists for a total of 7 points. His overall grade comes to 8.1 out of 10 or 81%. Bobby Hull is one of the most complete players I've reviewed this year. He doesn't really have any major weaknesses. His shooting and deking were a little inconsistent, but it was barely noticeable. For the most part, his game was solid all around. So between the two, I would suggest going with Bobby. He is slightly more expensive, but I think it's worth the extra $50K. Bobby can essentially do everything Brett can, plus some. But of course, that's just my opinion. Some of you may think differently, and if you do, feel free to let me know in the comments. The next couple of reviews you'll see will be for the bigger name guys, starting with Stamkos, then Taves, Malkin, Ovechkin, Crosby, a list like that. I want to review as many base guys as possible before the team of the year drops. But that concludes this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to join the Goif Squad, and if you're a long-time supporter and want to see some extra perks like more pack lottery guesses, weekly giveaways, or taking part in the review vote, then be sure to check out my Patreon page. Every single dollar goes a very long way. As always, I'm FanMox from Game On Your Face, where I provide in-depth reviews so you can make informed decisions, and I'll see you in the next one.